Welcome back to the Pod of Greed.
Welcome back. Indeed. Somebody missed that intro last week. I saw a comment. Somebody...
Did I not do it?
No, you did, but I paused and they weren't pleased that we didn't match the cadence that we're supposed to.
We do have to do the whole thing, that's true.
Yeah, it's a routine we've got around here.
That's true. You know, until we get our hyper stylized and expensive intro with
Yeah, that we're definitely working on right now.
It's not just going to be an AI created video.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to use an AI created video. That will not happen here. But no, I would like to get a cool intro for the podcast. If there's anybody who's talented at animation and stuff like that, maybe wants to make a little 5-6 second thing, you can certainly reach out. More importantly, there's another way that you can reach out.
How?
And that's by pressing 1 if you're watching the YouTube
premiere. Gang, we appreciate y'all. We really do.
We certainly would like that. In addition to that, actually, we
appreciate some other people too.
Yeah. So last week we announced that we are opening channel memberships as just a way to support the podcast. We have a very cheap channel memberships tier. It's like $2.99.
It's literally the cheapest one they let me set.
But we have 17 channel members now.
Which is 17 more than I expected, so I thank all of you.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. I was surprised. I didn't know how many people would really be interested in signing up for that. We did do our first members-only sort of post-episode. Mm-hmm. Still reading through everybody's suggestions for a good name for that.
And we're going to shoot another one as soon as this is over today.
Yeah, so we're glad about that. Hopefully you guys appreciate it. We certainly appreciate that you are channel members. So thank you again, honestly. 17, if you want to join in and become a channel member, support the podcast, it would be cool.
Let's get to lucky number 13. Or is that an unlucky number?
Well, we've passed 13.
Oh.
Unless you're suggesting they just unmember and then we get down
The next one we need is 69.
Also, I've done it.
What?
I've gotten my hands on the Coca-Cola / Oreo collaboration.
You guys might remember that we did have a story about this, 3 weeks ago?
A few weeks ago, we talked about this Oreo Coke collab and how the marketing for it looked really nice. This cool black packaging. I went to a few different stores it took to find this, but I did get my hands on the Coca-Cola Oreo cookies and then the Oreo flavored Coca-Cola Zero drinks.
And I just want to say the packaging did not disappoint.
It looks really nice.
Even though I'm still terrified of how this will taste, I love the packaging.
I posted a picture early on, and people were saying, some people are like, yeah, it's pretty good. It tastes like vanilla or whatever. And some people are like, it's disgusting. So, we're going to find out. I think at the end, we can do our taste test.
Fair enough. They'll give me extra motivation to push through.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Maybe what's not so fun, though, is Yu-Gi-Oh stories for the week.
Oh, they're not. What?
No,
Yu-Gi-Oh's in a good place.
I'm kidding. Don't worry. Last week's episode was heavy. There were some complaints from our end.
But
we
this
had
week,
some negative things.
We got lighter fare,
Yeah, I feel like this week there's not anything to be super mad about.
Nobody took any L's this week in the Yu-Gi-Oh community.
Now, Magic, on the other hand.
There might have been some L's there.
We'll get into that. Okay, so, last week we talked about the tins. A few updates on that. I've heard that there are a lot of misprints in these tins apparently. So in addition to the usual maybe misaligned names and stuff like that, apparently people are pulling prismatic secret rares that aren't actually prismatic. They're just regular secret rares.
Oh, that's
weird.
A
somewhat common misprint that
shouldn't even be able to happen since there should be no regular secret rares in this set.
Yeah, so it's kind of more of a printing factory error thing. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like it's the end of the world. This is
the worst thing ever. Doom, doom, and gloom.
In a way, it's kind of cool actually. If you're like me, where I don't actually like prismatic secrets, I like regular secrets. I think that when they add the prismatic effect, it's not awful. I just like how a normal secret looks. And so I
think it's too busy.
If you were to get a misprint prismatic secret SP Little Knight or something from your tins, which is difficult, but if you were to get one, then you could make it look from a distance as though it's an original one, I suppose.
Even though it will have a different
you'll have a different set code or whatever, but who's gonna know? Okay. Also, this week we got a bunch of Rage of the Abyss reveals.
Yeah. Rage of the Abyss.
I'm looking forward to this set actually. I'm pretty excited about it.
You can guess what I want.
Actually, what do you want here?
Oh man, I'm so
You're
glad
building a couple
you
decks.
asked.
Yeah, what are you building?
The Metal Morph strategy, it includes a Red Eyes. I build all these weird anime offshoot decks. I built the Shining Sarcophagus. I almost have Millennium built. I just don't have Exodia pieces, weirdly enough. But luckily, they keep printing them in every product.
We're slowly getting them.
Slowly
from retro
getting all of
packs.
them.
Yeah.
But I also want the new Millennium monster. Was it the Heart of the Blue Eyes
or something?
Heart of the Blue Eyes.
Yeah.
Then the lore archetype, the Azamina.
Azamina. Oh, you want to build Azamina? Good luck, man. They're supposed to be kind of expensive.
I have Snake Eyes. You know, I have them.
You're one of those players that actually like builds the lore archetypes.
Yes.
Because they're lore archetypes.
That's why. I'm not going to a tournament anytime soon. So.
No, that's totally valid. I mean, people just collect. What was a little bit different this time around, though, is that they actually did a Konami live stream, from the Konami office, with Jerome and Billy, and they kind of previewed all the different archetypes and stuff that were going to be getting videos.
And they knocked it out of the park. Those guys did a great job.
They did something. It's always fun to see Jerome and Billy on camera. They're a fun kind of awkward.
I mean, they're not,
but they're fine.
They're not on-camera personalities, but they have done this for a long time. If there's anybody you can trust to just talk about cards, they got that covered. Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people were kind of hounding them for being oh, they seem so bored and uninterested. I think for
they might
them,
just be tired.
It's either they were tired or it's you work at Konami, they probably don't allow them to
relax. Don't get too excited.
Well, not even so that they don't allow them to be excited, but I think that there's probably a just don't get too into it because you might accidentally maybe reveal something or suggest that
there's a lot of red tape,
or suggest that because I know internally with Konami they probably don't want to make an archetype sound like it's going to be a meta contender or this they don't want you to think that a certain deck is better than a certain other deck.
Which is weird because, as YouTubers, that's the first thing anyone wants to know about a card is, will this break the meta? How does it define the meta? Can we use it as an engine in X meta deck?
Yeah, so I thought this was kind of cool. Normally they just do the promotional video, but this time around they were just kind of streaming it. There were a couple of stream mishaps. Once they tried to transition to another screen and then it transitioned back and you see Billy taking off the microphone. And so it was a little awkward. But I'm not going to take the low-hanging fruit here. I do think it is cool that they tried this. It's not a huge deal. It doesn't, change anything amazingly. But seeing the faces of kind of the people from R&D who are working on the products, I think adds a little bit of personability. And having met Billy and having met Jerome, they're fine
could do
people.
Worse. Now, I do think maybe they should bring in one of their their outsourced commentators that they bring on.
Yeah, that might be.
Just to bring some energy to it.
If you want some more enthusiasm, I think
Because Kangas,
have Pheromone, have Kangas,
or Jackie Jing from the World Stream,
World Stream, yeah.
Just have somebody on the side just for energy, and if you don't have to worry about them saying something because they won't know the things to say.
Just give them a script or whatever. But I guess that's the benefit to really doing a pre-recorded video as opposed to a live stream. Who knows why they did it, but they did do it. And one cool thing is we got to see all of the new Mimighoul cards.
Yeah, that's right.
And the Mimighoul cards are actually pretty good. We've had this string of TCG exclusive archetypes that are usually really underwhelming. They start off interesting.
The last good one was Plunder Patrol.
I mean, I don't know about that, but people were really disappointed by Ashen.
Oh yeah.
People were pretty disappointed with Testina.
Oh, I hated that.
Gold Pride was okay, but it just kind of never was able to really make a mark itself as an archetype, and had to kind of work with Punk, and then at that point you're why aren't you actually just playing a better Punk variant or whatever. But the Mimighoul seemed fun. I remember you were actually saying that you feel it's some of the most fun you've had with an archetype.
Yes, even I wasn't playing Mimighoul, I was playing against Mimighoul, but I was also playing a lower power deck, and
it felt more
of all the games I played that day, that was the one that was actually fun.
Yeah, I think it is cool. It's more of a it's a gimmick deck, but it is not it's functional. So, I don't know. I thought it was cool. I
don't
like
know
the
if the new
concept.
support's going to make it no longer fun to play against, but that was on day one support Mimigul. I had fun playing against it.
Yeah, they get a couple of Xyz monsters and some cool continuous spells. It's certainly more consistent. I think that it will, it's not going to be like, winning a YCS, right?
Yeah.
I would assume not anyway.
Just you wait.
I would love to be proven wrong on that, by the way. But I don't know. It seems neat. It's like it's a fun TCG exclusive that's like actually playable, and so I think that's a big plus. Now we've also gotten a few of the content creator videos that have come out as well. I know MSTTV. He was covering the Mermail/Atlantean support.
I know you tuned in for that.
I actually need to catch it later.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
So what? You don't support MST.TV or you hate mermails? You're
both.
I was say pick one. Both. Oh
no. I'm kidding. I love Tombox. Literally, one of my oldest actually friends from like the Yu-Gi tubing space, if you can believe that.
I mean, there's a lot of Yu-Gi tubers who have come and gone.
Yeah, a lot of people have come and gone, but like he's here, and like I've known him for ages. So but he revealed the Mermail stuff. I never got a chance to watch the video. I will be checking it out though, because that's a deck that I want to build personally.
Like since I've known you, you've talked about Mermail, but sadly, since you'd already stopped playing the deck by the time we met.
Yeah.
But there's one deck outside of like X Sabers that you would tell me that you
Mermail's
loved.
it's definitely one of my children decks. So there's 6 new cards based on these pictures. It appears that it's kind of a mixture. Kind of high rarity. Yeah, like Abyss Shrine's a secret, Mermail Shadow Squad, King Neptibus, Poseidra Abyss, and like a lot of ultras. So it's going to be probably a little pricey, not too bad. I don't think that this is like the headliner archetype here. People are more interested in the Azamina stuff.
I mean, it does help to be. It's nice when you're interested in the deck, but since we know about these cards so far in advance, people already know, this deck can only do so much, so that the cards won't be that hard to pick up.
Right. Yeah. Also, a little bit of controversy around the rarity reveals for a few other cards. So we saw the Goblin Bikers, like expected, they're mostly low rarity. We saw the 6 Samurai cards, they're mostly low rarity. However, it's been revealed that Molcharmi Fualos is what it's called. It was Fuaros, like
Fuaros?
translation.
That sounds like Spanish, like
Fualos. I don't actually know what these are supposed to be. Like,
couldn't tell you.
But anyway, Molcharmi Fualos is the new hand trap that everybody's, getting a lot of buzz. And it's a secret rare.
Okay.
People are disappointed to hear that because they're like, oh, it's going to be expensive. And it will be, because it's going to be a new, meta staple and all that. My take on this, though, is that I'm not sure why anybody is surprised by it being a secret rare.
That's what I was. You saw my face. I was like, wait, why I don't know what the issue is.
Now, to be clear, I get the general disdain for like how expensive secrets tend to be. Like if you're a regular player and you're going to be like playing nerds, that sucks. But every major hand trap in Yu-Gi-Oh history has pretty much been secret. Like for the last, Ash Blossom was, all the Ghost Sisters have been.
That's how that goes.
Even the weird spin-off hand traps like No Material and like that sort of thing, like they tend to just make them secrents. I don't know.
The last Molcharmi was a secret, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, so they're all going to be. When they make the next one, it will also be.
Makes sense. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. You can dislike it, but if there was something truly wrong with it, I think it would have changed by now.
Well, no, I'm going to push back on that a little, but it's not in the way that you might expect. It's really probably part of the broader conversations everybody's having about how Yu-Gi-Oh really probably needs to start like experimenting with like a mixed rarity thing. Because what this is showing, this and the next card I'll discuss, Dominus Impulse. Mm-hmm. You know about the Dominus cards?
Yes.
This is the next one. It's kind of got the Ash Blossom-like effect. It's also a secret rare.
Yeah.
And so, that's how that's going to be. It's a staple. It's secret. This is nothing new. The main thing that I think this is showing for people, though, is like as cool as the tins maybe were, and I don't think that they were great, but, some people had a pretty good time with the tins.
I specifically saw people have a good time.
Yeah. You saw someone have a good time.
I did.
You saw in real life.
Just like one, though.
Surprise, surprise. No, I'm joking. I know the tins are fine, but not fine for me, but fine as like a product for a general person you can find enjoyment.
For the person I saw enjoying themselves.
Yeah, the thing is though, is like, okay, these tins come out, SP Little Knights reprinted and all that stuff, and now we just have like kind of that next wave of expensive secret rare staple cards.
Yeah.
And, more and more people are bringing up this point that like the game could really benefit from a mixed rarity system where Fuelos and Dominus Impulse could be secrets, but perhaps also supers. And then that way you can have like your expensive one and you can also have your cheap one, and it would make the cards more accessible. As much as I would like that, it's Konami, it's probably not happening.
So the analogy that I have for this situation is I titled, "You Can't Teach an Old Dog New Tricks." And you can kind of guess where I'm going. If there's a dog, and you've known this dog for 25 years, despite the fact that it's been his 25th birthday for what feels like 2 years now. Let's say there's a dog, right? It's a 25-year-old dog, and it bites you pretty consistently. It just bites you whenever a new product releases. It bites you, and you say, "Man, it would be really nice if this dog would stop biting me," but it won't.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, this is just kind of standard fare. Like, and that's where I kind of stand with it. Is like, I'm not surprised these are secrets because the good staple cards are always secrets. That said,
every so often they're ultra and rarely the super staples.
You'll occasionally get the
those super staples.
They like to do that. My main thing is, it doesn't change the fact that it does suck. Like, it's a sucky system. You're gonna have to pay for these secret rares if you want to like get them. And
wait, Paul, I gotta eat my words. I just remembered how in Rare Hunters, how easy it was to pull staples back then.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, I remember towards the end of Rare Hunters when we were getting into those like early GX sets, that was the sets where they started doing the mixed rarity system. Like, you could get an ultimate rare Lightning Storm or just like a super rare one. You could get, in some cases, like the cards would be a rare, like say Karma Cut and stuff was like a rare, and then also came ulti. Konami has done this system before, and like it worked. Those are popular sets too.
Heck, or you could just print them as cheaper. What rarity was Pot of Greed originally?
Yeah, that's the thing. Pot of Greed was a rare.
It was a rare.
It was a
in
rare
Rare Hunters, we
LOB.
both pulled too.
Yeah,
we were balling.
It's insane, and that's why like I would really like to see it, because it's easy to take the like, well, that's how it is approach. Like,
that was my very first. You all heard it. That was what I said.
Well, that's just how it is. Tough luck. It's Konami. They're not going to change. True. Like, I don't think that they're changing anytime soon.
The thing is, they did change.
But the thing is, they've done the opposite way before, and it's a little depressing because I guess like these tins come out and like you can finally get your Little Knight, but now like Fuelos and Dominus Impulse will be the new secrets that that are prohibitively expensive.
Yep.
And they won't be reprinted until like next year's tins. So fine, whatever. I'm going to try not to like dwell in my negativity around this. I'll say a cool thought I have though around Dominus Impulse. So you've seen this card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like if your opponent controls a card, you can activate it from your hand, and then like whenever your opponent's using a card or effect that special summons a monster, you can negate that effect and all that stuff. And then it locks you out of specific types for the rest of the turn.
Yes.
I like this design for like trap cards going forward. I think that it's cool for two reasons. The first is that it can function as a hand trap. Like if you're going second, I think it means like it kind of covers that weakness that traps have always had, where like you're going second and you draw traps and they're just useless now. Right. The only traps that have ever really been able to curb that have been like infinite impermanence and evenly matched, right? Otherwise, like drawing Solemn Judgment on your second turn sucks. Your opponent's board's already there.
It's not a great time.
Setting it means
unless
nothing.
You're on Retro Rivals, our series on the other channel.
Yeah, then you have all the time in the world to set your cards. You'll be okay. But I do like that they solve that issue while not being the Ash Blossom Effect Veiler kind of brand of hand trap where like it's also a monster. Because the fact that Ash Blossom is a monster and it's a tuner and all this stuff actually leads to slight bit more abuse, right?
It's a perfectly flexible card.
Yeah, so it's taking some of that out. And I'm interested in the idea of like playing around with this whole, you can't activate the effects of light, earth, and wind for the rest of the duel when you use this card. So there's like some real restriction to that. Some decks just won't really be able to use this.
Somebody's going to get a nasty DQ in a tournament one day because they accidentally resolved a card they weren't allowed to for the duel. They moved past the phase, irreparable game state.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing. No, I think presumably if you're using these cards, you'll probably be building decks that pull away from those attributes in general, so it's like less likely that would happen. But like,
I'm not gonna let Konami decide how I build my deck. I'm gonna run as many. What attributes were they again?
I think this is like light.
I'm gonna run as many light,
earth, and wind.
Earth and wind monsters.
Yeah, that's right. Someone's just doing it just to sabotage everything. So yeah.
What were the attributes on the last Dominus? I remember
the different ones.
It was fire,
dark, fire, and water.
Yeah, fire, dark, and water. Okay, so that covers everything.
Yeah, Dominus
except
Purge.
for Divine.
Yeah, Dominus Purge and Dominus Impulse together, if you were to actually use both in the same deck, would just lock you out of everything.
So
effectively,
if I play a Horus deck,
I mean, they're not Divine. Are you talking about like a Ra deck?
Oh, my bad. I meant Ra.
Oh, yeah,
I played Ra, and I could just run both Dominus.
Well, yeah, but you still wouldn't even be able to use like the other stuff.
We'll figure it out. We
like
got both Dominus.
The slime cards and stuff. You can use them. Yeah, so those are some cool new cards that's all going to be in the new set. It's very exciting. However, there is a slightly darker side to this that I was not aware of until recently.
What?
So, did you hear about Konami apparently sending out a private investigator into the scene? Yeah, a PI allegedly hired by Konami. So these are allegations sent to investigate who leaked Mimigul Fork. Which sounds so silly when you hear about this out of context.
I was trying to think of what my punchline for that was. I was like, this is so absurd.
Yeah, so Mimigul Fork is one of the new Mimigul cards that was shown earlier in that live stream this week, but it had actually gotten leaked a couple weeks ago. And so this one person showed up on Zodiac Duelist, and I think this screenshot that I'm seeing is from our Yugioh. Somebody posted this in a Facebook group called Yugioh Drama Center, which, God, this is like sickening to even read.
Yeah.
Why is there a group called the Yu-Gi-Oh! Drama Center?
You know what goes on there.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm reading what this person said. Since the new TCG exclusive card Mimigul Fork was officially revealed during today's stream by Konami, I now feel safe sharing this story with you. On September 11th, I was contacted via messenger by somebody wanting to buy ... the leaked card that was making its rounds. I picked up quickly that this was a PI hired by Konami, but I played along, aware of my innocence. The following is the conversation, heavily censored. Although he did his job horribly, he revealed the then unconfirmed English name of the card to me, because the picture was of one that was like a different language, Italian or Spanish or something. Okay. I still want to respect the job and the investigation, even if it has ended. He was accusing me of actually owning the card, which I do not. I was able to sufficiently convince him I was not directly involved in any leaking, despite being ready and willing to prove that 1, I'm an American and have no access to Spanish, European printing facilities. 2, the photos I collected did not contain my camera data from my iPhone. And 3, the first image I had was a blurry version, not the original file. He did not ask me for most of this information. I wish him luck with the investigation, and the conversation ended. What proceeds is a bunch of screenshots of this person who I guess is kind of going undercover to different Yu-Gi-Oh! Facebook groups, trading groups and things, and asking people to buy this card that leaked. I want to buy the leaked card from you.
Right.
And
it's like when a cop goes undercover to your local gas station, starts asking everybody, hey, anybody got that gas?
Anybody have illegal drugs that I could purchase?
It's like,
anyone? Yeah, no. So I'm not going to go through all the messages, but he eventually reveals himself to this poster as like, yeah, I'm like an investigator who's like looking to secure the card, and like whoever posted it and get it back and like find out who it was.
It's so like undercover bossy. It's like, I can just imagine, like, it's like, haha, I was a PI all along.
Yeah, from the messages.
Like, good job not falling for it.
For the messages that I saw, I'm not going to lie, this person made it, I think they maybe tried a little too hard. Like, it was pretty obvious that this is like a guy trying to recover like a card, but, and just try to get information. Whoever posted this on this group is not a snitch. I can say that much. They did not reveal. Even if they did know, they did not reveal.
They held water.
You
know what? They might want to check that person twice.
Yeah, maybe they actually knew. But I thought this was kind of interesting. Like I've heard stories about players getting banned recently for like showcasing images or like sharing images of like leaked cards in advance. Because sometimes like people will find these cards at like these factories, you know, like the printing factories that Konami uses. So there'll be like pictures from the assembly line, or maybe people go like dumpster diving and find, you know, copies of the, you know, whatever. So, and those get posted, and people have gotten banned for that. And I know that they've been really cracking down on like just posting of leaks before official release. So
I mean, I make it a habit of not talking about leaks when leaks come out, because the way I look at it is it's non-verified. So what do I look like pushing a story or a narrative about a product that may not even be real?
Yeah, I have a couple of things on it too. The first is like, I think when you like zoom out, it's all kind of funny. Mimical fork. Like I have to retrieve the copies of the Mimical fork. But some people do kind of read it as maybe a little bit petty that Konami is like sending out these PI people instead of maybe improving prize support or
so yeah, y'all got money for this
community management or something like that.
We still getting switches.
Yeah, so it's like, maybe there could be better allocation of resources there.
That's true. It would have been a better investment to just get the Pinkertons on them.
Yeah, that's the second thing I was going to say is I'm glad they at least aren't like sicking the Pinkertons on people, because that caused Wizards a lot of bad press.
It's like you can get a DM from this PI or a knock at your door.
Yeah, so
Thug walks in.
So I'm at least glad that they're not doing that. And to be clear, like it's within Konami's right to pursue people who are like leaking these products, especially because like that means there was a physical sample that was taken in some way. It's just, I don't know, something about it is, it's maybe just feels
the ugliness of like capitalistic corporate America because like we're talking about card games here.
Yeah,
technically children's card games.
Yeah,
this is not actually a Yugioh card leaking online before it goes on sale is, in the grand scheme of things, a very, very small and insignificant thing. Where if you told someone outside the Yu-Gi-Oh community that like, oh yeah, they hired a private investigator to find where this one leaked Yu-Gi-Oh card image came from, they wouldn't even believe you at first because it's such an absurd idea. Now, I mean, I get the corporate rules, like for like tech giants and stuff, that it's something that happens all the time, but I wish that Konami and all the companies involved, toy companies, Wizards, everybody, keep in mind the scope here. We're talking about card games. It's not that serious.
Ugh. I'll play devil's advocate a bit here.
Want me to get you your Konami hat?
Yeah, you can go grab that. So I get why, like, for us who are we're like in this Yu-Gi-Oh community, we're used to the leaks. What's the big deal? Like, the card's gonna get revealed soon anyway. It's like not a big deal. But I do know that for these companies, there's always like corporate espionage. I remember one company that I won't name, but like that we visited once. They were talking about how like the windows and everything of the building
you can't talk about that.
Well, I'm gonna choose to not name them. Fair. I don't know that we can't, but like they had to like keep windows and stuff shut because competing toy companies would actually send people like to look through windows and find like early samples of products and then like take those trade secrets and make potentially better competing products. I get that sounds like an extreme example. This is a freaking Mimical fork. Like no one's trying to find out the formula for making Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but I think it's just kind of one of those things where like if you let this slide, then like where else does it go?
They have to do something. It's kind of like how it's like locking your car door.
Yeah.
You're just doing your due diligence. Yes, if somebody wants to break into your car, they can just break the window. But at least you lock the door as a show of, I do not want you in my car.
Because I don't think Konami is like, sweating over the card being like leaked. It's not going to cost them really any money or like inventory. It's not really like that. And I know it does come across as petty, but I do try to imagine like if I was in a somewhat similar position in like making a product, I wouldn't want people to like see it in advance and maybe steal it. I know that with this card they can't do that, but like I get the principle.
So if this is my company, they get life in prison.
Yeah, so I'll take my Konami cap off now. I'm done defending them for the last 2 minutes. No, but yeah, so I thought that was kind of an interesting story. What do you think about it? Just any other takeaways or?
It's sad that that's always the most interesting story in the Yu-Gi-Oh community is like card leaking and Konami like going after. Like, I wish we had more interesting stories. Like, because It's not that interesting, really.
It is and isn't. I think, where the real intrigue from it comes from, this is just a hunch, is because they don't have community management. Like,
that's true.
Because there's no communication from Konami, and
yeah.
it almost feels like these stories are exciting partly because it's like
we hear so little.
The iron wall of silence has like made a move in the wild, and so it feels kind of interesting because like, oh, like Konami like does this, like, whoa, it's in a weird way personifying them slightly. It's adding this slightly like bit of personality to Konami that otherwise feels so distant and so deaf to maybe like.
But that kind of just makes it look worse then, right? Because
it doesn't read well.
Because it's a company that doesn't speak ever, and then like, you finally hear something. You hear that they sent their like investigators after people. It's like, ooh, that's very
Yeah,
it's not chill.
I think, yeah, exactly. It does say something that like this has to be a story because like we're not used to Konami ever talking to us, so like things like this seem exciting. It's in this vague, distant way. It's like Konami is speaking to us.
Yeah, they're speaking through actions.
Yeah,
and it's not a good look. I guess if they did, I do wish Konami would speak more because that does give them the opportunity, not necessarily the ability, to control the narrative a bit. If Konami had come out with a statement about how we don't like it when you leak cards, if we do find the people who are leaking these cards, you'll be held responsible. That has a cleaner look than we just finding out that they just seeded investigators into Yu-Gi-Oh community spaces, these double agents.
Because it sort of suggests a distrust.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm like filling in the blanks too much here, a disdain. Like where we don't trust these players to act right. Mm-hmm. And they have to be kind of watched and monitored.
So you got to ask yourself, there were spies in the Yu-Gi-Oh community in this instance. How many times have there been spies in the community?
It's certainly evidence that like they're listening and like watching and know.
Ooh, it reminds me of that episode of of The Walking Dead when somebody was letting walkers through the gate and nobody knew who it was.
There is something that I've always found kind of weird. Speaking of that, is like, how on Master Duel meta they're always like, and this is outside of the controversy they had a couple weeks ago, but like just on Master Duel meta, they're always like, Decade's like contact from Konami has informed him that like this is likely going to be the next set that like drops in Master Duel.
That's true. They do say that.
And it's like, then they always say that. And I'm just like, who is this? and how's it gone on this long? Like my actual assumption is that they're just data mining the information. Like it's getting data mined and they just maybe say that it's a contact so that I don't know why, but like, if someone has been leaking information that long, surely they would have been found.
Given the revolving door over there, there's no way that person hasn't been fired yet.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what that's about. But anyway, so just thought that kind of private investigator drama was neat and fun and interesting. One last Yu-Gi-Oh thing, I think.
What you got?
That I have found is that so apparently Konami has banned using mats and sleeves with any branding on them in non-American Opens and YCSs and Nats. So you might remember that for specifically the EU Nationals this past summer, they made that announcement that like you had to use solid color mats and sleeves or like Yu-Gi-Oh branded ones. And those are the only two things you could do. And that was only for those events. They have now made that official going forward for all events. However,
American ones?
Except, American ones have not put this in their policy docs. It's only the Yugioh.com/EU like accessories page on their website or whatever. However, they did lighten it somewhat. So the policy for accessories used at the event will be as follows. Duelists must use only an officially licensed Yu-Gi-Oh mat or non-branded game mats. TCG game mats are permitted for use, OCG game mats are permitted for use, and plain Spellground game mats are permitted for use. That's something that they added in that was not...
Plain Spellgrounds.
Yeah, Spellgrounds mats, which most are plain.
Okay.
And then also use only officially licensed Yu-Gi-Oh card sleeves or non-branded card sleeves. So TCG card sleeves are permitted, OCG card sleeves are permitted. And then for items featuring non-Yu-Gi-Oh branding or unofficial and counterfeit items featuring Yu-Gi-Oh branding are not permitted to be used as field center cards. And yeah, this applies to all Tier 3 and Tier 2 events. So this actually is slightly walked back from the original one, which was that you had to use solid color mats if you weren't using a Yu-Gi-Oh branded mat.
Right.
Now you can use any mat, but it just has to be a non-branded one. So no Albaz and Ecclesia.
Yeah, well, unless it's a Yu-Gi-Oh Albaz mat.
No, they're branded. So they're not allowed.
Wow. I'm mad that went over my head.
I'm kidding.
My God.
But no, so you now do not have to use like a solid red mat if you don't want to use a Yu-Gi-Oh mat. You can use something with like a design on it, but it cannot have like Mega Man or Pokemon's like branding or something.
Still quite a big issue. Who keeps a mat like that? Like,
well, what's that company? Like, there's like those generic maybe like Ultra Pro or someone who just kind of makes those generic like mats with like a dragon or a sorcerer on it.
But no, so when we say non-branded, because Ultra Pro will still put their logo
I don't know if that
on
counts. Because I thought that I was taking that to mean more like One Piece, Lorcana.
Then I think they would say like
Pokemon.
no other like properties, no other intellectual property, but they say brand.
Yeah, so maybe you're right. I think maybe it's really that it needs to be like a mat that has
There's
no
nobody's
logo
name
at all.
on it. Which, that's tough.
That also means no like Yugi-tuber mats. Like you don't get to bring your Team Sam
none of that.
playmat or whatever to the events. So, but still, it's at least a little bit more leeway than it initially had. And they did clarify that you can use Spellground mats because that's like a big thing in the competitive circles. So
It is funny that they were like, okay, we'll allow Spellgrounds. That's the only brand we'll allow.
I mean, leave it to Konami EU to be the one that actually at least even goes as far as saying something about that. Like,
True.
Because I feel like, low-key, this Konami US, they just were not going to allow them and wouldn't say anything. Now that EU
we haven't had this trouble with
we haven't had this yet. Now, if they do implement this policy, which they 99.9% will be in the US soon, they'll probably just take the same text as the EU kind of group used. And so
I think it's still a loss overall for Yu-Gi-Oh players just because a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, they play other card games. You don't want to have to bring multiple mats because at your Yu-Gi-Oh event you're no longer allowed to use
your Digimon mat
your
or
Digimon,
whatever.
your One Piece, because I mean that was always a fun part about card games is that you can
have the cross mat.
Cause we all have mats for every card game, but you just bring whatever your favorite ones are because you just need to protect your cards. That's their only use, except for that guy who had the crazy Lilithmon mat that distracted me in tournament, and that I still say that's why I lost that game.
Now, low key, I mean, like, I know some people were pretty upset about this change. I don't actually really care that much. Now, partly that's because I'm not really like going to YCSs or whatever right now. But also, I actually don't find that, I know like people kind of get angry. It's like, what, you're censoring us and taking away our like customizability and like, self-expression. When I'm at Yu-Gi-Oh events, I'm really not that concerned with the mat I'm using. I'm concerned with winning. So,
though I guess I have seen people who take that kind of thing very seriously,
but,
almost like a superstition. Because I'll never forget some of my earliest like regional and like YCS experiences. I play against these guys, or I remember playing against one guy. He had his own unique anime big titty mat thing. But then he meticulously laid out like 3 field centers. These like custom things that he had.
He had like a ritual.
Yeah, and it felt like this was really important for him. But they did not need to be on the mat.
It was like his setup.
He just that was his setup. That was his Zen mode.
I've seen that.
And that's happened a few times. Or now it's not always inappropriate stuff, but sometimes it is.
So it's more of like a comfort thing for players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to have no sympathy for it. It's just that for me personally, these sorts of rule changes don't mean a lot. Like, if I go to a regional soon, I'm just going to use a generic Yu-Gi-Oh mat. I've got a few of them that I like, and I'll just use those. And like, it doesn't, but I'm also not as concerned with like the aesthetics of the accessories. However, I know that many players are. So, I get it. It's just
the aesthetics of my accessories are important to me too. But I do think I actually always have the brand proper versions of everything. I have my own Yu-Gi-Oh mats, but I have plenty of Konami Yu-Gi-Oh mats. I have my custom Yu-Gi-Oh dice, but I also have Konami Yu-Gi-Oh dice. There's no, even in Digimon, the same exact scenario. No matter what the rules are for an event, I am ready to comply. In Digimon, we have memory markers. I have custom ones, and I have Bandai official ones.
That's actually a really big thing too. Is I always kind of just have some official stuff, so it's never really. It's not like an issue if they say, like, I don't know. I'm like I said, this does not apply to everybody. I'm not saying that you're bad for having custom things. It is for me, like, I'm so much more focused on like playing that it just doesn't matter what mat I'm really using. As long as it's got like zones or whatever, I'm kind of just, I can play just fine.
I need zones. I don't know how people can play with
zones. People who don't have zones at all, that's wild to me.
For some reason, like, I have such an obsession with making sure my cards are like exactly within a zone that when I'm playing on a zoneless playmat, it feels like my cards are just sinking and like floating off.
Things end up everywhere. That's why I had such a tough time kind of with like even Magic is just that there's not like these official places for stuff, and I'm like, how do people? Because like coming from a Yu-Gi-Oh background,
it's very important.
It's just like it's so anal.
Yeah.
People are very meticulous about like you play this in this column, like keep this stuff. I mean, Konami, even in recent years, they've been like cracking down on like you put the grave in the grave zone. No more of that sideways, whatever, diagonal thing. You can't put it underneath your deck. Right. Like you put the stuff in the zones because it's just gotten, the game state is so precise at all times that things need to be like ordered correctly and placed correctly, and it's just like it's a whole thing. So
I mean, I think that's a consequence of like Magic just being an older card game. Before before we established that, you know, in card games we have fields and they have zones and card placement spots. That's not how Magic was played originally. Yeah. It was supposed to be this kind of open area where you just sling spells.
I think that probably lately like lends some of the casual feel to it, but I think that's a good segue into the Magic news this week. Yeah,
we might as well just dig right into it.
Okay, so I have some articles about this new Magic Commander ban list. Do you think that you can, I mean, you play a little more Magic than I do.
I do.
Could you perhaps give a better synopsis?
So I can't promise I can give a better synopsis, but I can do is I can give...
Take it away.
I'll give my take on the story. So they introduced, because this has never happened before, a ban list for the Commander format. And I say they, it's actually MTG Commander, the MTG Commander like rules committee.
Yeah.
Not actually Wizards of the Coast who made this list. Don't ask me why it is the way that it is. That's just how it is.
A correction real quick. This has happened before.
In Commander?
But yes. Oh. But it just doesn't happen often.
I didn't know.
So the rules committee has made like ban lists before, but they're usually very small and minimal, and like they have like years between them. Like these do not happen often.
Well, I guess to be fair, I've only been
you've only been playing like Commander for like a year, so
like a year and a half.
Yeah,
so.
It's not
anything before 2023. I don't know anything about. Anyway, so 4 cards were banned. It was Dockside Extortionist, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Nadu Winged Wisdom. So I am familiar with 3 out of the 4. And my understanding, and in their explanations, they did put out pretty well-worded explanations on why these cards were hit.
Must be nice.
These were these were bans for the CEDH format, which is the competitive Commander format, which I don't know how or why people would play that, but they do.
That was my first thought. I'm sorry to distract from... I know I'm going to get some pushback for this. There's like people who are going to be like, it's this. Please explain to me how the hell you can seriously play a Commander tournament. Like, and when I say seriously play, I'm not saying that the idea of doing it is dumb and stupid. I'm saying like 4-player battle royales, like in a tournament setting, just seems so like I can't.
It's not that bad
because I just
the games are all insane. The decks the decks are all so hyper tuned for victory that.
Yeah, I guess it maybe doesn't matter.
Because like you've seen Commander games go on forever, but like
these are more like you go infinite on like your second turn, and it's kind of it. I don't know. It seems like it'd be hard for me to like do a competitive tournament where the format is like 4-player free for alls. It seems tough to take seriously. I know some people do it clearly because of all the backlash around this, but like I just anyway.
So back to the cards, right? So Dockside Extortionist is a 2-cost creature that it creates treasure tokens. It says it creates X treasure tokens, where X is the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. In an early game of Magic, a lot of people are trying to get their artifacts and stuff on board so they can ramp into higher amounts of mana in their oncoming turns. So Dockside Extortionist essentially lets you duplicate the effect of your opponent's artifacts, but for you, and you can use them even faster than your opponent.
Yeah.
Jeweled Lotus is a 0-cost artifact, maybe an artifact your opponent might have played before your Dockside Extortionist. You sacrifice Jeweled Lotus, you get 3 mana of any color, but you can only spend it on a commander. Once again, another way of getting mana really fast early game.
Yeah.
And then Mana Crypt, 0-cost artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Mana Crypt deals 3 damage to you. Think of this like Jiraiya. You win the coin toss, nothing happens. If you lose the coin toss, you take 3 damage. Regardless, you can tap this to create 2 mana. So really, there's no downside to this card.
Yeah.
So these 3 cards, these are all ways to hyper ramp up your deck to make extremely explosive plays on your second and third turns before most people can even get online.
So what I've heard about this is that it's almost less important what these cards do, and really more important the prices of them. But what they do does tie into that somewhat.
It does.
So yeah, from what you've explained, it's and what others have told me, because I was very curious about this. This has been blowing up the timeline. These are staples that have multiple printings, I believe, but like are generally kind of expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And the staples also allow for a lot more decks to be competitive. Like these free ways of generating mana that you can use for commanders makes like high cost commanders a lot more viable than they otherwise would be. Whereas it seems like typically in this competitive commander format, CEDH or whatever it's called, it's pretty much like low-cost commanders. It's like kind of the meta game.
That's how it would be if these cards didn't exist.
Yeah, so these cards allow those other strats to kind of be played. So that's kind of part of why people are so upset with their banning, is because it's like, well, I can't play my, high-cost commander. Am I on the right track here?
So yes and no.
Okay.
Because like the CEDH community is powerful, but they don't make up the majority of commander players.
Yeah.
The vast majority of Dockside Extortionists, Jeweled Lotuses, and Mana Crypts exist in binders and people that just go to locals and play. For some reason, there are people who they don't play competitively, but they've invested money into these cards anyway.
Yeah, I'm just going to get to that. So the 3 fast mana cards, I'm just reading an article here, are available in relatively low numbers and are extremely powerful in casual and competitive MTG Commander. At the time of writing, they command high prices in the secondary market. Depending on their printing, their market valuations in MTG Goldfish start from $85 for Dockside Extortionist, $200 for Mana Crypt, and $95 for Jeweled Lotus.
And those are the cheapest versions of those cards. They get higher.
Yeah, and so we predict price crashes for all 3 cards, with Jeweled Lotus probably being the worst affected. And that seems to be where a lot of the controversy comes in.
Paul, did you know I'm actually quite close to this list?
Okay.
I actually...
Do you use these cards?
I actually had a Jeweled Lotus.
Oh, okay.
I pulled one out of Commander Masters. You can check it out on the second channel. Or this channel, actually.
Yeah.
I pulled the Jeweled Lotus. Yeah. And then I sold it. Because Jeweled Lotus had no place in my Commander pool. It was too powerful of a card to use in these extremely casual games I was playing. Yeah. If you play a Jeweled Lotus, you're the enemy at the table.
I've heard 2 different people are angry about this list.
Yeah.
To fast forward to the controversial part of it all, people are angry. I've heard that there are people who are angry because the cards themselves are banned, and these were allowing them to maybe play a more rogue strategy or something like that. How dare you ban these cards that we've been using? And then I also have just heard there's the angry card game investor types who had been hoarding dozens of copies of these cards in some cases, and they're mad because their investment has now tanked by this ban list that's made by this rules committee. And so people are angry at the rules committee, which is separate from Wizards of the Coast, I was informed.
Yeah.
Apparently the rules committee for this isn't Wizards, it's like these other people who make this list. I don't play Magic, guys. I'm sorry, I know I'm like probably butchering details here. I'm happy to be corrected in the comments. That's
I'm sure
fine.
to some degree they fall under the purview of Wizards of the Coast in some way, shape, or form. Since Wizards has taken ownership of the Commander format, there's probably some relationship there, but it does seem to be separate.
Yeah, so basically, hundreds of dollars have been wiped off of MTG collections for people. And that's kind of the controversy. And I've just seen people screaming and shouting. They're angry. I've heard that there have been like death threats to the rules committee. People were harassing one of the girls who was on one of the women who's like involved. I saw that the rules committee made an update somewhere where they were like explaining some of their rationale for the things and like who sort of was fighting for which cards to be banned and what's not. Which I'm not actually sure that was a great idea, because it seemed like that kind of allowed the mob to redirect to different people.
At the end of the day, transparency is better than non-transparency. Mm-hmm. This was going to be upsetting, but they announced this anyway, so they already knew that this was going to be the case.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, deep down in every Commander player's heart of hearts, they knew these cards were not great. I hadn't been playing Commander long before I realized, hey, you know what? This Jeweled Lotus that I have is not doing me any favors. I have a pirate tribal deck. Dockside Extortionist is a pirate. At one point, I was this close to buying Dockside Extortionist for its full price of like $80-something. But I stopped myself because I said, this card won't do me any favors either. But many people... So
you're talking about, when you say do you any favors, you mean within the like kind of social...
actively using these cards in a social situation with three other Magic players.
So the social contract of the pod.
Yes.
Yeah. Not this podcast.
Not this podcast.
But the Commander pod.
The Commander pod.
Yeah.
And so I opted not to use them. But you might ask, well, how did I get a Jeweled Lotus? How did I just barely didn't get a Mana Crypt. And how did I almost buy a Dockside Extortionist? Because two of those cards have been recently reprinted. And
so maybe that's part of the anger.
I think so.
Yeah, they were reprinted. People were happy to finally get their hands on them, and now they're banned.
Because Jeweled Lotus was a Commander Masters card. People were more than happy to get a Jeweled Lotus. It brought the price down a bit. They finally had one, yay, and people were hoarding their copies of it. Right. The same is true for Mana Crypt, which I want to say that might have been Lost Caverns of Ixalan, where it was reprinted. People got Mana Crypts. They've been wanting one for so long. They finally got one, and so people are hoarding them to make money. I'm glad that the committee that made these rules they're not the same people who make the products. But I kind of wish they were, because maybe this could have been avoided.
It seems like to the eyes of the angry person, it's all the same thing. I think they barely even are making a distinguishing. Okay. Well, let's cut to the chase. Like, what do we think? Like, of the people who are angry, or like why they're angry, or just was this a good...
The first thing I want to say, I think it's a good list. Solid list.
You think the hits are fine? They're good.
Good hits.
I have no opinion on them because I don't play. So, or I haven't ever used these cards. I just vaguely play a little Commander here and there.
If you had an extra four or 500, I could have got you started.
Yeah. And I guess that 4 or 500 maybe has something to do with the anger. I think that the people who are upset about their investments tanking, I don't really have much sympathy for it. I'll say the same thing I've always said about like Yu-Gi-Oh! Reprints and all that stuff. Card games are meant to be played, not like invested in. I get the like kind of small time disdain of maybe you own one copy and it's banned now, you're kind of upset about that. But for these people who are like, had a collection of like plenty of these, and now my collection's gone from being worth thousands to nothing. These aren't like an investment. You shouldn't have been hoarding like 15 copies of Mana Crypt, hoping to just kind of like hold them over people's heads and sell them for a profit, because there are people who are specifically like that was their objective, and that's why they're so angry.
I'm gonna shoot them some bail.
Okay.
Those people actually, they are important to the TCG community because, I moved my Jewel Lotus at a vendor who was willing to buy any and all rare Magic cards I had. And that was great because I wanted more money to buy new cards. If they didn't want to just buy, hoard, and then resell these cards,
your ability to sell it was...
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to sell. I wouldn't have been able to buy the new cards that I wanted. So they did play a role in keeping the TCG cycle going. They got burned. Like if you bought up a few Jeweled Lotuses at some TCG event and you're like, yep, and I'm gonna sell these and it's gonna be all worth it because I'm gonna make a little bit of money back on it. Now it's like, nope, every single one of those is gonna drop down to such an abysmal price. That's rough.
Yeah. Move the mic a little closer. I feel like you're gonna catch a lot of echo if it's that far away. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't have like sympathy for like. So it sucks to lose your money from like a ban list, but I just don't think. I guess I'm not a buyer. I'm not a seller. So maybe I don't have the right like perspective on it.
I guess the problem is they didn't get the chance to respect that a ban list could happen. Because, in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, we know these ban lists happen. If you lose money...
Yeah, here it's out of nowhere,
it's like,
isn't it?
Yeah, for them, they just kind of got caught flat-footed. They didn't even know that this was going to come up.
I'm like... I won't hold my tongue, actually. I'll just say it. Too bad. I mean, like, if you had, like, 2 or 3 copies, because you maybe had, like, 2 or 3 decks, and you were using them in your decks, that's where my sympathy ends. If you had a bunch, and you weren't using them, and you were just kind of sort of entertaining the idea that one day you'll sell these and make a bunch, and I just have, like, 10, and I feel good, and they're worth a bunch. Well, I mean, it didn't... I don't know. I maybe I'm not...
I mean, I get it.
I think I'm just not being... I guess I'm not involved in it. I'm not close enough to the matter to...
Because, I have a pretty big Digimon binder, and I have all these, like, rare alternate art cards. A lot you can't... it's hard to find nowadays. And a lot of those cards in my binder had very high prices at one point. And then time and power creep set in, and a lot of those cards are worth, like, nothing. But for me, it was my collection for a reason.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, collecting them, if they're your collection, that's fine. But, like, these people who are angry that they cannot sell them now, I don't have much sympathy for that. It's like, okay, a similar issue kind of has happened with the MegaTins. There was a conversation that was going on Twitter. It was like MBT, House of Champs, MST TV. They were kind of like going on about like how, House of Champs is not a big fan of these tins. He thinks, they haven't done a good job of actually even reducing the prices of the cards, like SP Little Knight, Thrust, that sort of thing. And so, he was kind of listing these examples of how they haven't really done a great job, in his opinion anyway. Tom Box kind of came in and was like, so like, what do people want then? Because do you want like these cards to be mass printed and tank the values of the existing cards and be easy to get? Or do you want, Yu-Gi-Oh cards to be able to retain value so that like your investment can be worth something? MBT chimed in and said, I do want the cards to be mass printed and reduce the value of them because I don't care about the value, I care about the playability. In that debate, I side with MST TV or with MBT as well.
A lot of M's.
Yeah, a lot of M's. I side with the cards are meant to be played. They're not meant to be your thing that can like accrue value. If it accrues value, that's nice.
It's your little nest egg.
Yeah, your little nest egg, your little like investment. That's nice and that's great and that's fun, but it's more about people having access to the cards. Now, that's not a one-to-one thing, but like, I'm guessing the Magic situation is a little bit different. Just the nature of how Commander's played and like the infrequency of the ban lists, like you pointed out. But I don't know. When someone's like mad that their investment of trading cards has gone down,
didn't pan out.
I can't find myself really seeing eye to eye with that.
Should have played the stock market. It's less volatile.
Yeah, so that's actually what I would say. Like, if you're this concerned about like these cards, you're a finance bro playing MTG, just actually invest in stocks.
We'll sell you guys an APS coin.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's what I heard about it. There was one good tweet that sort of explained it from Tier Zoo, because I was asking people, I was like, okay, can somebody kind of explain like I'm 5? So here's what Tier Zoo
Sounds like
has
an
to
AI
say.
prompt.
Yeah. Here's what Tier Zoo has to say. YouTuber, I'm sure you've seen maybe one or two of his videos. He makes tier lists with animals. But he also plays a lot of Magic and a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'll take a swing. It's a complicated situation, but the core of the frustration comes from players of a format called CEDH, which uses the same rules and Banlist as normal Commander, but with the explicit intent of playing as many broken cards as you can and turboing out a win as fast as possible. 3 of the 4 banned cards are what players call fast mana, meaning cards that rapidly accelerate you towards playing more powerful cards. These cards were super expensive and objectively broken in casual Commander. Most players didn't play them simply to keep gameplay more fun and balanced. It sounds like you. But for CEDAs, they were enablers that many strategies relied upon to be competitive. Jeweled Lotus made it possible for high-cost commanders to compete with low-cost commanders. Dockside Extortionist was the only thing keeping an entire color, red, relevant in CEDH. Without these cards, it's likely we'll see CEDH become a Tier 0 format where the decks that play low-cost commanders will dominate. He says, to use a dated Yu-Gi-Oh! Analog, it's similar to banning Pot of Greed and Graceful Charity, but keeping last turn legal, because nobody except tryhards would play last turn instant win combos. So he says, the other half of the equation is the collector side. The Commander Rules Committee very rarely changes the ban list at all. The last one before this was 3 years ago and only affected a single relatively new card. They never issued a ban on such an old core of cards before, let alone 3. Mana Crypt was legal for 15 years and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So a lot of people assume these cards were safe investments that were unlikely to see bans. Wizards fueled these hopes by reprinting rare versions of the cards. So a lot of people are furious that the cards that went for potentially 4 figures are suddenly all but worthless. Hope that helps. So does that sound...
Yeah. Sounds better than what I can come up with. I don't have nearly as much
yeah, I'm not, we're not like into it all too much. Okay, I'm sure I maybe like made somebody upset, so...
Fight him. You gotta catch Paul outside.
I will be reading comments so I can better understand this, but people are pretty angry. There is a good bit of bad news, though.
Oh, yeah? What you got?
So last week we were talking about how the Netflix Magic the Gathering animated series was canceled.
Yes.
It's not canceled.
Was that misinformation?
Apparently, Netflix Geeked on Twitter, this is on September 19th, shortly after we were talking about it, tweeted, here it is, "It's happening. Netflix's Magic the Gathering animated series is now in production with showrunner Terry Matalas in partnership with Hasbro Entertainment and Wizards of the Coast." So they are making a Netflix Magic
So the voice actor just like...
Yeah, that one guy, maybe he's just not... That's what you said, he's just not in it.
Oh, he got cut.
Maybe he's just not in it.
It's like, oh, he wasn't in on the secret because we already let him go.
Yeah, so just a little update to that story. Cool. I guess it's happening.
Hey, I support it.
Yeah.
I did want to see what an animated Magic the Gathering story could be like, and I guess we will get to know.
Yeah, so people were saying, like, I heard it was canceled last week. I saw somebody commenting that. So.
I didn't grab this as a story, but since you mentioned Netflix, I remember Netflix, I think in probably the same, like, frame of time, they announced that they are doing another Cyberpunk animation.
Oh, good. I like the Cyberpunk.
We don't know if it's going to be another Edge Runners, but they are going to do another one of those.
Okay, that's all the Magic I can take.
Well, people never get tired of taking Pokemon cards.
Oh, don't they?
Now, this is actually a story that I missed, I believe, from last week. It was on the 12th. Actually, it was a little before last week. Anyway, Thieves ask which Pokemon cards are worth stealing during $70,000 value robbery.
That's what Thieves asked.
Yes, and this
is kind enough to do that.
This is like this was a very serious armed robbery in Japan. So, as first reported by NHK and spotted by IGN, on September 9th, thieves broke into a card shop in Osaka, Japan. The break-in allegedly occurred at 3:30 a.m., so middle of the night, while store employees were closing up for the night. 3:30 a.m., okay. The thieves had what appeared to be a knife. After tying up the employees, the two robbers walked out with over $70,000 worth of valuable Pokemon cards. Apparently, the thieves didn't do their research and needed help with picking the right cards to steal. As further reported, the robbery happened right after an employee live stream in which they showed off cards to viewers. According to police, before tying them up with rope and covering their mouths with tape, the duo asked employees which Pokemon cards were worth stealing. The thieves then left with over 100 trading cards worth about 10 million yen, or about 70,000 US dollars. So it seems the employees did a good job recommending which cards to grab.
Interesting. Well, good to know they were able to make a helpful recommendation.
There's something really, to be said about the customer service over there. When you are being robbed, you are tied, you are bound. They are
if you're going to steal some, these are probably the best ones to take.
Like, they're asking for recommendations, and you're still giving them good advice.
I mean, it's not like there's a gun to your head or something, but
a knife.
Yeah, or who knows what else. I mean, speaking of Pokemon, just a quick little update. Do you remember when we talked about the Pokemon TCG illustration contest?
Yeah.
And how there was AI controversy involved? Because we all love AI to death.
My favorite thing.
The top 3 winners of the 2024 Pokemon TCG illustration contest have been announced at Japan's Champions League. Each of them was crowned on stage. So that's pretty cool. They did go in and take out the AI art submissions. I remember there was an update to that story. I don't remember.
Did they fill in with proper people?
Yeah, they said that they did. So the $5,000 grand prize winner is Kazumi Minami from Japan. And here is this is their illustration.
Oh,
of course,
it's a Pikachu.
won. I mean, not surprised to see that. The $3,000 best standard card illustration winner is Acorvi Art from the United States. And this is his picture. It's a Feraligator with some Magikarps.
Good old Gen 2.
Yeah, and then and the $3,000 best EX card illustration winner is Anderson from Japan.
Oh, that's cool. That's what's that thing?
Toxicroak, right?
Not Toxicroak.
Toxtricity.
Toxtricity.
Yep, yeah. So that's pretty cool. And they did have these cool framed. Just picture them with their framed cards.
That is nice.
So pretty awesome. And they also said, their artwork will be turned into real promo cards in the coming month. It should be distributed at Pokemon centers both in Japan and internationally. They were also presented with special trophies featuring Charizard. How awesome.
Even though there was no Charizard in the winning artworks, it's still going to be a Charizard trophy.
There were 6 first-place runner-ups who will each receive $1,000 and also 15 judge awards that will get $500 each. So let's first quickly go through the 6 runner-ups. I'll try to show some of these on screen at least.
Oh, yeah.
This is a runner-up.
That's the metal thing, whose name I cannot remember.
This is an Absol. This is a cool
Gen
one.
2, let's go.
From Taluna.
Actually, that's not Gen 2, that's Gen 3.
Gen 3, yeah. There's Eevee.
Good old Eevee. See, I would have said this one's AI because that eye creeps me out.
Yeah, I mean, Eevee's always been a creepy one to me in general, actually. I've never found Eevee to be a very...
Well, be careful, Paul.
Cute.
You might get
People
canceled.
love Eevee, I know. Here's another Feraligator one. Seems kind of popular.
2 Feraligators. I didn't. The texturing on that is crazy. Oh my gosh.
Emma Bieber. This is one with a Flygon, and some others are kind of hidden in the details.
One of my favorite dragon type Pokemon.
And this
Flygon
is
again.
Another Flygon.
And this one's kind of
tearing through the
twisting.
clouds.
That's cool.
And then here's some of the judges' picks. There's this Eevee art.
I like the flat artwork here.
Another Feraligator. Something about Feraligator does pretty well in these contests.
Feraligator's that guy.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, there's a lot of Feraligators. Was
okay.
Did they give a theme?
Is there a theme?
Yeah,
what is
did
going
they
on?
say you have to draw a Feraligator?
Oh, that's the new one.
That's Miraidon or
I always forget their names.
Whatever the thing you ride on. Another one of it.
Rhydon.
Koraidon and Miraidon, I think are their names.
A Pikachu.
So
another
more Pikachus. A Bidoof. Another Bidoof.
Aww.
Another Bidoof.
Well, I know that one's popular.
A Flygon again. This is actually an interesting.
Oh look, Charizard.
Charizard. Another Absol.
Maybe there were Pokemon that were that they were supposed to draw specifically because it is weird how many repeating ones there are.
Themes or something. Because a lot of Feraligators, a lot of Eevees, a lot of Flygons.
More Absol than I would have expected.
Absols, yeah. Those are. If there wasn't a theme, and this certainly shows what are the popular ones to draw, just in general. So.
I mean, Bidoof became kind of a meme in the last 2-3 years, so I can see that.
And they made that one animation about Bidoof.
Yep.
Bidoof's big day or something. Yeah.
It was a fun watch.
Cool. Got any more stories?
Any more Pokemon stories or
No more
TCG?
any stories.
I have gaming.
You do have gaming. I imagine you do because the State of Play was happening.
That's right. I have everything that was revealed at the State of Play. Hopefully this is actually a complete list because sadly I missed it myself.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to tune into the State of Play. I kind of feel bad because I know we typically like to talk about them, but apparently this State of Play was more of like updates on a lot of games and some like remasters, announcements of like remasters, but not.
Yeah. The last State of Play burned me, and I wasn't really optimistic about this one. And this one's gotten a lot of buzz online, but I don't think for the right reasons.
Okay.
So I think the number one thing to talk about with this State of Play was Ghost of Tsushima 2, Ghost of Yote.
Well, so it seems like, is it Ghost of Tsushima 2 or is it just Ghost of Yote?
It's just Ghost of Yote. I think
it makes a difference for people.
It does and it doesn't at the same time. It's very strange.
I see Sucker Punch announced Ghost of Yote, which introduced a new protagonist, a new story to unfold, and a new region of Japan to explore, coming to PS5 next year.
Because there was reportedly a Ghost of Tsushima 2 being worked upon. We don't know if Ghost of Yote is the 2 that was like reported on, or if
it's like a spinoff.
Yeah, or if it's a spinoff of it. There are people who are very upset about a game we know almost nothing about. Let's just say it reminds me a lot of the Assassin's Creed controversy.
Yeah, I saw people are mad. There's a girl. Oh my god, how dare a woman be in a game?
Like,
awful.
And
fucking grow up.
I
Next
wish I
game
could
is.
say
We're not giving this any more
moving
attention.
on.
I don't care about them. Astrobot, they announced some new like speedrun levels and 10 new special bots to rescue. I would like to play Astrobot. I've heard good things.
I have too. Horizon Zero Dawn remastered. Sony is good for just re-releasing and remastering their games.
Wasn't Horizon Zero Dawn like a PS4 game?
Depends on which Horizon we're talking about.
Forbidden West is the PS5 game.
Okay, then
but Zero Dawn was the first one. It was on PS4. It's like that game came out in like 2018.
And now you can play it on your new PS4 Pro. I mean PS5 Pro.
Old. Okay, whatever. Lego Horizon Adventures.
Monster Hunter Wilds gets a new trailer and a release date, which I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, Alan Wake 2, The Lake House. That's I think it's a DLC. Arcade. A lot of, honestly, like, I'm just going to skip to, like, the exciting things for me, which being kind of a more of a JRPG fan.
Oh, PalWorld.
Oh, no, I didn't. I wasn't excited. I heard that they announced that. But Fantasia Neo Dimension seemed pretty cool. I don't know if you saw that. It's just sort of an RPG.
It's in front of me now.
Yeah.
I do see it.
It's a cool little RPG series. Seems neat. Dynasty Warriors Origins looked cool. I mean, it's mostly updates.
It is mostly updates. I mean, there was that Shadow, what was it? Keanu Reeves is going to be in the new...
the Sonic X Shadow Generations. It's like a expansion with the Sonic third movie.
I wish Keanu Reeves could just stop and save some jobs for the rest of the industry. I mean, Jesus. You know how many video games he's in now?
He's been in a lot.
Like... He was a headliner in Cyberpunk, the Death Stranding series. He's Shadow in like.
He's just too cool. That's the thing. Did you see this Stellar Blade X Nier Automata?
You know, I saw Stellar Blade.
Yeah, I know you're into. Yeah, you're into your those sorts of games.
I actually do have Stellar Blade. I don't play it very often. I need to play it more. But yes, I am looking forward to that. I think that is cool.
So something else that was kind of interesting that I saw, this isn't a huge deal, but they announced these Chroma PS5s. I don't know if you saw this. Yeah, the new Chroma collection introduces a brand new aesthetic to the PS5 family of accessories.
Does it come with a price cut?
No, I mean, these aren't even like, these are controllers you can buy and faceplates you can get for your PS5 that are basically just like Chroma kind of colored instead of like the matte thing.
It's first party accessories to make it look kind of cool.
Yeah. So if you're into customizing your PS5, then this is a way of doing that. Overall, I mean, I didn't hear a lot of buzz for this like PlayStation State of Play outside of Ghost of Yote. And most people seem very impressed with Ghost of Yote. Yes, there's that group of people who are not happy, but like Generally, it seems pretty well received.
It just, once again, the state of play just does not feel as exciting as I think it once was.
There's just not a lot they have to show right now. They don't have a lot to show. These states of play are cool, and I think that they should continue doing them just because it's a nice way to get all of your PlayStation news in one place. Like, having your games, announcements, or DLC or whatever in a state of play is probably objectively better than just releasing a press release for some of these games that are less known. Mm-hmm. So I think they should still keep doing them, but this just doesn't seem like one that was very strong. I mean, the last one also wasn't amazing, but like the one before that was. Like that one that had like that new Spider-Man 2 game, like Venom and the Miles Morales. Like that was like a cool one, I remember.
Oh, the Miles Morales.
The Miles Morales,
that Spider-Man
Venom,
spin-off.
yeah. Like I remember that one being pretty cool, but then I go the one before this was
I see. I took me a while to figure out what you were saying because there was Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Spider-Man 2 had the symbiote suit, and then Miles Morales didn't have Venom.
Yeah, and so then they had like a crossover and some other So sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. It really just comes down to like what sorts of games that you like out of these presentations.
That's true. If your game is covered, fire, 10 out of 10, show. If your favorite game wasn't shown, it's garbage, Sony's dying, Microsoft rise up.
I mean, I think if anything, Microsoft feels like the company right now that people are probably most, like maybe they most need a big announcement to kind of even the playing field. Like so much of the spotlight's been on PlayStation the last few months, like good and bad. Like Astrobot was amazing. Concord got canceled. PS5 is too expensive. But then there's that cool retro PS5, and now people are like, oh, I really gotta have that. True. So it's like there's kind of these ups and downs with the PlayStation brand, but ups and downs like aside, people are talking and thinking about PlayStation, and it has outsold the Xbox by so much that I think like it has me curious. Will Xbox announce like an Xbox Series X Pro to kind of compete with the PS5 Pro, or like what's?
I think I've said it before. I think Xbox wants to leave this generation behind.
Maybe they're just kind of done with it.
This isn't the one, Chief. But the real winner of the console wars, they made some noise this past week too.
Oh yeah, Nintendo, huh?
Yeah, so Nintendo finally did it, and they are officially suing PalWorld. The lawsuit is out there, y'all.
Which also got announced for PS5.
Yeah, which also was announced for PS5.
PalWorld got announced for PS5. But okay, tell me about it.
So it says Nintendo has filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Pocket Pair, the studio responsible for PalWorld. PalWorld, of course, is a heavily reminiscent of the Pokemon series and has attracted a fair bit of criticism and passionate defense for how closely some of its creatures resembled those found in Nintendo's brand. The lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that PalWorld, a game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take necessary action against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual properties it has worked hard to establish over the years. So We've talked about this. I think my stance. I feel that PalWorld is an AI-generated ripoff of Pokemon. Yes, the game's mechanics are not Pokemon-esque, but I still think the monster designs are bad enough.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people took Nintendo's relative silence about it until that one. What was that one announcement about? We're going to be looking closely at this.
Yeah, I remember that came out.
But they were kind of quiet about it, so I think everyone, maybe even Pocket Pair included, thought maybe they got off scot clean, but that does not seem to be.
Yeah, I'm curious where this goes. Like, will PalWorld just get? Because PalWorld, I haven't followed it closely. I'm really not very interested in the game myself personally. However, I've heard it's gotten like DLC. It's apparently gotten like its multiplayer mode, or that's on the horizon or something.
I mean, I haven't heard anything about PalWorld pretty much since it came out.
But people play it. Mm-hmm. I think that people, they're playing it, so they're into it.
I think PalWorld found its niche. A lot of that rapid fire success, I think it burned off. A lot of people were just kind of jumping in on the fad because I think this gaming era that we're in is pretty much just fad based. And PalWorld, it rode the wave, had a lot of hype, and they probably made some good money off of it. It cooled down. They found their niche. I thought PalWorld was going to quietly exist in its corner of the internet. But Nintendo is there and they say, no, we're going to drag you right back into the light because we can't have anybody even remotely infringing upon our properties, and we have the money to back it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of mixed because I did find PalWorld look pretty derivative. I wasn't super impressed with what I saw there. I remember when people were saying like this kind of pushes Nintendo, like, you know, they needed to have some competition in this space, and like the PalWorld will push them to have to make Pokemon better, lest they lose Pokemon to PalWorld, like you lose legacy. People like PalWorld more than Pokemon. I think that's all a load of kahooey. Because honestly, those two games, they'll occupy totally different spaces. Like PalWorld strikes me as more of like a, kind of just like a Minecraft Roblox. It's just sort of this, the Fortnite-ish. It's like just a general game. You just gotta get on, open world, live service thing.
If you're in it, you're in it. If you're not, what's it matter?
Because the thing is, like, Pokemon is Pokemon, and PalWorld is a game that's like out there in the abyss. I don't think that the genres are competing closely enough for Pokemon to really feel threatened in any way. And I'm not surprised into suing them.
You know, allegedly, I could have sworn I saved this story that had the links, but for some reason when I checked my app, I didn't have the story saved. But allegedly, Nintendo has gone, in the months since PalWorld came out, Nintendo has been going in and amending their patents. A pattern that Nintendo has used before, right before bringing a patent infringing lawsuit onto someone. They've allegedly been amending their patents so that, and I don't know how that works. I don't understand how you can amend a patent, but allegedly this allows Nintendo to more easily bring a patent infringement case against certain companies and games. I know they're good for it, so I believe it, though I did lose my credible source.
No, I mean, I buy it. I mean, listen, Nintendo, they're known for, you know, they don't like emulation. They've shut a fan game or two down in their time.
I think actually last week or the week before, they shut down they completed a lawsuit against some Chinese company that had their Pokemon ripoff game. Yeah. They won some $1 million.
I always feel so, I guess it's like, it's so tough because I know people see these lawsuits and stuff and they're kind of like, you know, Nintendo's being a bully, like, stop ruining the fun, you're wrecking the party. But maybe I don't find, like, the rip-off games to be very impressive, so, like, I'm not...
Maybe we have to try them. Maybe we don't know because we don't.
That's true. I have not tried PalWorld, so my opinions on it are only, like, you know, at a glance, right? It's like these cursory opinions.
And I say that, and I'm never going to try PalWorld. I think it looks bad.
I'm never trying that game. I'm just not going to play. I mean, this is also coming from somebody, I don't play that many games to begin with. So, you know, like, that's one thing. But I don't know. I don't think that, I'll just get back to what I originally said. It's Nintendo. I'm not surprised that they're, like, suing people over copying these games. They're going
to do what they're going to do.
And if PalWorld goes under because of it, that would suck because there are a lot of people who play PalWorld and enjoy it. It just wouldn't affect me personally.
So, do you think, is this more or less petty than Konami going after card leakers?
On the pettiness scale.
Yeah, because these are multi-billion-dollar organizations.
I don't find the Pokemon PalWorld thing petty because I just expected corporations going after other corporations. I think Konami's is probably more petty because it's like corporations sending people into Facebook groups of like regular people.
Hello, fellow Yu-Gi-Oh players.
Yeah, that just seems weird. Like, I don't know. It's just I find that like kind of more weird than anything.
Fair.
Okay, I've got one last story.
What you got?
Did you hear about TwitchCon? It was this past week.
No. Well, I don't know.
I don't stream on Twitch either. Yeah, I'm not a Twitcher. But Ludwig slams Kick as a platform full of, quote, shit streamers.
Okay, so I am familiar with Kick.
The reason that this is so relevant is because TwitchCon was last week, and there are an insane amount of clips of people going to TwitchCon, oftentimes them being a mixture of Twitch streamers and Kick streamers, who went to TwitchCon and just harassed people.
Huh?
Like live stream. So imagine I run up to you. I don't know where my phone is, but I've got my phone. And like I just run up and start doing something inappropriate to you. And my phone, I'm streaming, I'm live streaming it, and it just happens. And so there are people just like running around doing crazy things, harassing people at this event, and many of them were Kick streamers. Well, Ludwig just did not like it, had something to say. Ludwig's called out Twitch, or Kick, labeling it as a platform of poison that needs to be addressed before it can hope to improve its image in the public eye. Because, Kick does hope to be a competitor to Twitch. Right now, its numbers are pretty abysmal compared to Twitch. In a clip posted on YouTube, the content creator, primarily known for his YouTube content, made non-specific criticisms of the Twitch competitor's streamers, stating, "I think there's a bunch of shit streamers on that platform whose entire thing is to disrupt. It's a bunch of people. It's not as if it's an exclusive problem," he continued, adding that every platform has bad eggs, but why does Kick breed so many? "I think there's some poison in the well. There's something in their water. They have to fix it if they ever want to be a legitimate platform." The comments come days after Ludwig stated that he'd seen an insane amount of clips recorded at 2024's TwitchCon of Kick streamers harassing people at the convention. He says, "I feel the main thing that's stopping that platform from succeeding are some of the people that are on it." And he's not the only content creator to have commented on events that transpired at TwitchCon. On September 24th, internet personality Ice Poseidon denied rumors that he paid Kick streamers to harass people at the convention. I don't know who any of these names are. Likewise, during a meet and greet on the show floor, Nick Implosion, I don't know what these names are, was confronted by a Kick streamer known as DBR666, who proceeded to kiss and lick the former's chest. "Holy fuck, that was weird. Don't ever do shit like that, please," Pullum later said of the encounter. DBR stated on September 24th they'd subsequently been banned from Kick, promising to, quote, be better should they return.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, people apparently just come up and, do weird stuff to random people, and they stream it. And, we've seen in the past Kick streamers who do weird pranks, dangerous things, set stuff on fire, and hack. They just do all sorts of just odd stuff, light firecrackers in public places or whatever. And so Ludwig seems to be basically just saying, the reason that Kick has trouble getting off the ground is just because it's kind of got this almost culture of crazy young streamers who are just kind of, whatever. Your thoughts?
I don't use Kick, so I can't really say that Kick streamers are specifically the scum of the earth. Mm-hmm. What I will say, which is even wilder take, is I think all live streaming is just fake content creation. I think
not a fan.
I think there are some exceptions. I think some live streamers have turned, this very pedestrian media form into a bit of an experience, into a show. But I think most live streamers are not really content creators. I don't think they're businessmen. I don't think they're entertainers or showmen. I think they're just miscreants who like to who just act up for views.
So yeah, I get what you're saying. So to me, I think it's all because of the rise of IRL streaming. Yeah. To me personally, that seems like the tipping point for it. When it was just video game streaming, which is that's kind of originally what Twitch was. You're streaming your games, you got your little face cam, whatever. That's fine. Whether or not you like it is kind of up to you. I don't use Twitch often. I don't really care to watch someone play Apex Legends or something, and it just doesn't. That's not my idea of entertainment. But that can be entertaining for somebody, and you can make kind of a brand and a character and all these things on that. Sure, it's the people though when they kind of started just. I don't have to be playing a game. Mm-hmm. I can just have the camera and just stream me doing anything. I mean, because that's where you get more.
Some of the people I think that can put on a good show are the type that just talk on their stream.
Yeah.
But the ones who like to live stream them doing antics.
Yeah, that's.
I don't care for.
Yeah, it's the antics streaming where it's just here's crazy, just kind of pranks and weird, wild challenges and just because you've seen it go wrong so often.
Yeah.
There's the gambling streams. There's the hot tub streams. There's the people who set stuff on fire and the people who
that little guy who lit the fireworks in his room.
Yeah, and the people who do the weird pranks, and it's just kind of I think that's a lot of where it went down. I don't know if it's a younger generation that's been causing some of it or what it. just the commodification of like, I can just pull out my phone and do something crazy because like that will get views.
Now, I guess YouTubers, they've done crazy things for views too. Yeah. But I think the barrier to entry for live streaming is much lower because to shoot a YouTube video, that means you have to edit, you need a thumbnail. There's a lot that goes into a YouTube video versus live stream where as long as your camera, your phone is able to connect to the internet, you can live stream. And I think a lot of those live streamers, they don't know what they're going to do. And so they just say, let's do something.
Let's just kind of like see what happens. And it can oftentimes lead to abuse and
accidents,
doxing, like all these crazy things. I don't know. Now, I'll say for Kick, I've only been in it a few times. I think the fact that they branded themselves as kind of the place for the banned Twitch streamer.
Is that how they brand themselves?
Early on, that was a big part of the marketing, was that people who had been banned from Twitch were allowed on Kick. Mm-hmm. And that Kick would have looser moderation like policy, so you could stream your gambling, you could stream like, your more sexually explicit content, you could talk about, taboo topics or whatever on your stream. And
what's a taboo topic? Can we talk about it here? Would that void YouTube's terms?
Oreo Coke is a taboo topic on Twitch. You know what I'm talking about, Kick. Yeah, it was kind of the edgier Twitch. Effectively, was kind of how it was positioned, and I think that's what led to a lot of the types of people that you hear about here, where it's just like, I grab my phone and just run up to people and spit in their face, and it's funny, and like I run off, and then I throw a lit match into the blah, 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 just kind of, and it's crazy and wild, and we're all laughing, and I'm like, pranking people in public. I kicked down the old lady and she fell. Wasn't that funny? So it's, I think like Kick does have to really, they probably need to like kind of cull that some, but I don't know how you do it, because that was how they started off, was like they're the edgy platform, but they clearly are banning some people.
I mean, I hate to say it, I think we need some policy changes, at least in America, where people cannot freely just whip out cameras to record whatever and whenever when they're out and about. I don't think you should be able to put someone else or someone's building in your video without their permission.
That would be a big improvement, actually. Is like the whole like public, because what's annoying is that it's one of those cases to me where I feel like the law has not caught up to the medium.
Right.
It used to be that if you go like kind of outside of your yard, like when you're in your house or in like your yard, then you kind of have an implicit privacy. A person cannot like film you. That was like a whole thing.
Right.
And for a long time, who would really even do it to begin with?
Yeah,
maybe a creepy voyeur.
We had rules about this when it came to journalists, but that's a fairly professional vocation. But these aren't professionals now.
Yeah, and so it used to be if you go to a public place, like a park, then you are consenting to the idea that you might be caught in a photograph if like you're at the park. Mm-hmm. Now, that might just be like the cool street photographer who's just kind of capturing some urban life and he's snapping photos. And that's harmless. Generally speaking, that's like harmless. What's different now is that those rules haven't been kind of reassessed, I think, to take into account live streaming.
Yeah.
Where it's one thing if like, okay, Alec's walking down the streets of New York and there's somebody who's just doing like photos of New York life, just snapping. Fine, pretty harmless. But like if I run up to you and do whatever, this person lick you and say some weird thing and then and it just, and I'm doing it to everybody I pass, or I'm like acting like a hooligan and being, racist or something to the Japanese people, just stuff like that's what needs to probably be reassessed and now we have the smartphone, so everyone's phone is a camera.
Yeah, anybody can be a live streamer if they want to be. Anybody can be a content creator, but you can't. Not really. Yeah,
so I think that would be a good start. That's like more than just a Kick thing. I mean, I think like that's just we have to kind of limit this IRL streaming, IRL like YouTube. I'm just out and about doing things and no one gets There's no consent
like,
involved.
I feel like, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to just go outside with a camera, but I feel like you should have to get permission from people before you point that thing in their direction.
Correct. That's my last story.
That's cool. That's all I've got.
Awesome. So it's time to get into the questions. But first, I think that we have a little bit of food to consume.
Oh man, I'm excited. I haven't eaten. I am starving.
Wow. So part of the reason why we don't have the pot of greed here is because we got the Oreos here. They didn't sponsor this or anything, but
so these are. Open this? I don't know. Yeah, I can open it. So these are Oreo Coca-Cola with popping candy. That's what it says.
Oh, I didn't know there was a candy component.
Let's see.
Is there candy in the cookie or? Yeah, this is our first live taste test.
That's right. This bag has not been opened. It's not been resealed.
Apologies for probably the loud crunchy noise. Ooh, look at that. I'll have to show the middle camera, but I'll also hold it up just real quick if maybe you can see.
I'm just going to say it looks better on the package.
The package makes it look a lot more saturated.
Yeah.
In real life, it's more... The smell's pretty good, though.
That is a strong smell.
It smells like Coca-Cola. Okay, and now we also have our limited edition Oreo flavored Coca-Cola. This is 0 sugar.
That's right. Because for some reason with their alternate flavors,
Collab,
they're
always
on the
do
0 sugar
Coke
ones.
Zero. Okay.
Which I like Coke Zero normally, so I don't have an issue with
Here's something else about this Oreo collab. When I was searching for these were usually not placed with the other Oreos. They were usually on their own section.
Their own display.
Yeah. It's like a custom black Coke X Oreo display.
That's how these were.
Specifically for this. Yeah, and I found out there are so many different flavors of Oreos. I really did think that Oreos were only regular Oreo and maybe the occasional seasonal, here's the Halloween one, which there was that. But they have every flavor under the sun of Oreos. So.
Oh, I'm terrified. So what are we trying first?
Okay, I'm cracking open my...
Ooh, that was a good crack.
Yeah, that was a good crack. I love a satisfying... So what do you do first? Do you like the cookie or the drink?
Let's do the drink first. I don't want to mess up my palate.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Clink. Okay.
I do kind of get a whiff of cookie. It didn't taste like anything.
The aftertaste is where the Oreo comes in.
Wait, try again.
Yeah, you got to sip a bit. Don't do too little, or you probably won't be able to tell.
Oh, it is on the aftertaste. It's literally the aftertaste.
Yeah, it's as it's going down, and then.
Huh.
So it definitely does taste like an Oreo.
Yeah, it leads off Coke Zero, and then it ends off Oreo.
It actually. Something's weird. Even though the consistency is just a regular kind of just Coke Zero consistency, it tricks you into actually thinking that you've bitten into a cookie. For some reason, it has the richness, kind of that rich feeling of a cookie. Is it like that for you?
I think, because I remember hearing something about this where there's this weird sensory memory thing with your tongue where it remembers the taste and textures of things. And you can kind of capture that just by thinking of the thing you tasted.
This feels like I'm eating a physical cookie, but I'm literally just drinking things.
Yeah, even the seconds afterwards, I still taste the cookie.
Okay, so now we gotta actually try the cookie. So it's red on one side and regular Oreo black.
See, it's Oreo on this side, Coke on the red side.
Yeah, there's Coke.
All right, let's find out. It has the pop rocks candy.
Okay, I was wondering what that was. So there is a pop rock. Is that in the cookie or is that?
It's in the. I think it's in the red one, the red cookie.
Okay. This is good, but
it's so weird to have the popping.
The popping is
it makes sense though. I get it.
Yeah, because they're trying to emulate the fizz of a soda. What do you think? Do you? I feel like it doesn't actually really taste like Coke though to me. Not very much. It just kind of it's sweet, maybe a little too sweet for me, but it doesn't taste like Coke. I don't think it tastes bad. I don't taste Coke.
So It's hard to. Yeah, I don't taste Coke. There is a different taste to it, though. I don't know what to call that.
Yeah, it's
fun to eat.
It's fun.
I mean, I like Pop Rocks. It's as a fun like aesthetic. If I drink this with the pop,
yeah. What's it like if you? Can I just say this is like murder, like eating these two things together?
Yeah, I feel like I'm dying.
I mean,
I guess this is zero sugar at least. That's not.
Well, Oreos are even vegan. I know that doesn't necessarily speak to... Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Oreos are vegan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
but
right, then.
It's just that, like, I really wouldn't normally drink something sweet while eating something sweet.
Yeah, oh, no, never.
It's just not a good...
Because, like, I pair a Coke with a sandwich.
Yeah,
a burger.
I wouldn't want... Okay, so what are we rating it?
All right, so are we collectively or separately?
Both.
Okay, so let's start off with our ratings for
the
drink. The Oreo Coke Zero out of 5, I think is...
I give it like a 4.
A 4.
I think it's pretty good.
And it's only not a 5 to me is because I don't think I'm going to drink it again.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't give me more than a normal Coke Zero. It's giving me something a little different.
It's a fun novelty experience.
Yeah.
Like, I do think it's cool they were able to capture that aftertaste that they literally tricks you into thinking that, like, there's like an Oreo in your mouth. Mm-hmm. The cookie, maybe like a 3 out of 5. I don't dislike it. It's actually pretty novel.
Compared to a regular Oreo, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 4 too because I think it's fun.
It is fun. It's a fun... You know what? They're both actually very fun experiences.
Like
to eat.
Now, can I go through an entire package of these? I need friends.
Yeah, I don't know that I would like eat more than a couple at a time, but I don't even really like regular Oreos. The only way I can eat Oreos is when I have the thin crisps one. Have you ever seen the Oreo crisps?
Yeah,
I like those. Regular Oreos are too like dense.
I like Oreos, but I don't eat a lot of Oreos. I would get the package of, what is that, 4 Oreos?
Yeah, like 4.
That's enough Oreo for me. I'm good, and I'll have a good time.
It's crazy that there are like people who can just like down a whole thing of Oreos. It just seems like too much in one sitting.
I'm too old now. As a kid, maybe. As an adult, no way.
But yeah, they both get points for being novel tasting experiences. Like this tastes like you're eating an Oreo. And this has the pop rock thing.
Yeah, it's like you might call it a carbonated Oreo,
Yeah, that'd be a fun way to describe it.
But overall, I'm not mad at either one of these.
I'm not.
And the packaging's
amazing.
The packaging is fire.
Really, really, really sleek.
Oh
I
my
like
God.
it. Yeah.
So I'll go ahead. I'll give it a success. I know Oreo and Coke weren't looking for my vote of approval, but they got it.
As a collab, I'm actually going to give it like a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, because this could have been worse.
This
could have been worse. I'm really happy with it.
All right, so now it's time to answer some viewer questions. I got them pulled up on the tablet because the pot's not here because the Oreo Coke is.
That's right.
So, kind of a softball question. I'm in my mid-30s and I work a lot. I listen to you guys every Thursday because I'm usually at work when you premiere.
We appreciate that.
I try to comment on every pod. My question is, do you... I don't know, they might have made a typo here. My question is, do you feel as I do that building decks in real life, or more so in Master Duel, or my favorite, Duel Links, gets the creative juices flowing in a world that does just about everything by the numbers and speed running things because of all the sheer knowledge we have? Or are you guys believers of the opposite, that we are painting ourselves into a corner? Thank you. Okay, so I think I understand what this person's asking.
All right, you tell me what they're asking.
I believe that what they're saying is, do you prefer like creative deck building or like by the numbers deck building?
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
That's the gist. I hope that I understood it correctly. Thank you for your question. How do you feel about that?
I'm a numbers guy.
In what way?
So I'm not a very creative person, and I don't get a lot of joy out of the creativity aspect of my games. My enjoyment just comes from playing them. Okay. Like in video games with character creators, I try to get through that as fast as I can. I don't take my time. I don't have a sense of fulfillment when I make my character. And the truth is, the same is true for my decks as well. I have more fun playing them than I do building them. I want to build them so that I can play them. I want to have them complete, and oftentimes the fastest way to complete a deck is to use a recipe.
Yeah. For me, kind of similar. I tend to start like, well, it's a little different, I guess. I like to play kind of, like when I pick, say, an archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh!, I do like to experiment with everything that archetype has to offer before I land on like my final build. So like sometimes people will say things like, well, you're not supposed to like run this card of this archetype, but I want to run it anyway. Not because I think it'll necessarily be like good or bad, but because like I want to learn for myself if it's good or bad and why it's good or bad. And like learn that through running it myself, losing because of it, or winning because of it, and kind of like forming those opinions on the deck and the card and everything of my own experience rather than like whether someone told me to or not. I might end on the same, like it might end up, I don't end up running it because it does turn out bad. I just want to make sure that I believe it's bad, not just I heard a person say it was bad, so I just didn't bother running it to begin with. I mean,
I guess for me, since I should be clear, I'm not a like a tournament list net decker. I'm like a Kira Twig net decker where you just put 3 cards of every card in the archetype together.
Hey, listen, that's not always bad though. I think that, you know, Kira Twig he represents, I think, something that's very valuable for the kind of casual player who just wants to get started with this deck, right? They're not looking for it to be optimal. They're not looking to win the YCS. They just have the cards and they kind of want like a basic little guide to get it together. And like in that way, that's valuable information.
And now I think about it, usually over multiple iterations, I will change my decks. But I initially, like, I don't like to...
You want a starting point.
Yeah, I don't like to deck build from the start. I just like to get the cards together, get a list together. I'll play it, and then I'll start changing the list. And I guess that's where creativity comes in, because I will say I do like to try and optimize for whatever plays I want to make. So, yeah, I guess I do like a little... I like a little bit of creativity in my deck building.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for the question. The next question is, let me see. There's actually a couple of really good ones here. I'm trying to like decide what the best one is. So
whichever ones you don't pick, we save them for next week.
Yeah, I guess that's always true. So I quit Yu-Gi-Oh! Earlier this year for Magic the Gathering and have not been following it since. Do you foresee Konami ever doing anything to get players like me back who left because of the power creep and cost just being too much?
Yes, but it depends on the type of player you are.
Okay.
Konami does court Yu-Gi-Oh! Players who've left the game, but they do that with legacy support for people's past favorite decks.
Yeah, how much are you willing to...
compromise yourself.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, how much are you willing to play like a Blue Eyes or a Guy the Fierce Knight modern deck? Like, you know, versus do you want to like kind of really truly go back in time and sort of like play maybe like a 2007 and 2010? Like, I don't know that Konami isn't courting those people because, like, I mean, Yugi and Kaiba are on a lot of products still, like the tins or whatever.
To this day.
They recently reprinted Retro Pack even. Like, I think they're doing some things for it. It's just that, will the main game ever really go back there? No.
That ship is kind of sailed.
That ship has sailed so far off. I mean, it's
pick up your new Molcharmies, guys.
Right? Like, you could even say the bar is subterranean at this point.
Oh, Subterra reference.
Because we are really, I mean, it just that modern sort of advanced format isn't going back.
I mean,
that's just
mostly because
it can't. But I think that Konami, they're beginning to kind of acknowledge the old, though. Like I said, reprinted Retro Pack, kind of doing those like Ultimate Edison things, the YCS events, and.
But we don't know how like much of a retro player this person is or was.
Yeah, because they said they quit earlier this year for Magic, and so like in that way,
I mean,
it kind of suggests they were already fairly modern. They were just maybe worn of.
They probably got worn down in this format.
These last few Tier 0 formats.
Maybe they could have been a hardcore tier player. Maybe they'll come back when we get new tier support.
Or they just unban Kit Kalos in the TCG. There, you can come back now. But what I would say is like, the same thing I often say, which is that Yu-Gi-Oh would benefit from just a mid-power format. I think that would actually help to recover a lot of these casuals who feel like they're maybe being muscled out, is just having a format where it's not Edison, it's not GOAT or anything like that. It's just like
modern cards in a modern playing field.
Yeah, modern cards, modern playing field, modern rules, just in a like middling power level where your Plunder Patrol deck, your Yugi anime deck, like, you know, kind of your weird, fun, quirky things can play against each other. And you get to use the new stuff, but you're just not like being, you know, completely lambasted by Snake Eye or Yubel or
because like where else am I going to run my Ogdotic FTK?
Right.
Like, see, so how it works is you got to run Slash Draw and Snake Rain, and you're supposed to continue before I had to like make.
I don't really. Okay, so here, thank you for the question. I appreciate that. For the next question, in your opinion, what was the best era of Yu-Gi-Oh to play and watch the anime?
Those are separate questions.
Maybe they're asking them together.
I don't know how.
We technically have made a video sort of where we talked about this, like kind of ranking the eras.
But to play and watch the anime at the same time? Oh,
5Ds probably clears.
I mean, 5Ds does feel like the safe answer. I mean,
but 5Ds in anything before.
Then again, I really did enjoy Arc 5. I don't know how much I enjoyed playing.
I mean, you were a big Pendulum guy when Arc 5 was first airing.
I was. I played Forum Pals immediately.
I actually would I want to give a bit of an honorable mention to Zexal in this regard. I was not watching Zexal actively as it aired, but I know people who were, and they seemed to be really enjoying themselves. Like, we had number hunters at locals. Mm-hmm. Like, we had people who were actually, like, I'm going to collect all the numbers in real life. And that was like kind of what Yumo was doing. They talked
to their buddy Astro and high-fived the sky.
I mean, they were on that wavelength. And I think that they seemed to be enjoying themselves. I remember at the time, these were people who were like maybe like 13, 14. So,
I mean, because like if we're asking both questions together, it feels like it's just dependent upon, well, when were you watching the anime?
So for me then, I think the time when I was doing both actively would be probably the boring answer of like Duel Monsters, just DM. And maybe the second one would be like 5Ds.
For me, then, I think it's GX. Because through a lot of DM, I played Schoolyard Yu-Gi-Oh! Or I wasn't playing Yu-Gi-Oh! At all. But I was in middle school when GX started, and I played a lot of middle school Yu-Gi-Oh!
I played a lot of the GX decks shortly after they were, like, in the early 5Ds. Many of the existing archetypes were GX things. So my friends and I would often be playing, like, you know, a friend who played Crystal Beast, a friend who played Ancient Gear, I had a friend who played Venoms, just all that stuff. So Six Samurai. Thanks for the question. The final question is, should cards that interact with banished cards ever have been made, or should banished mean gone forever? This one's from Basic Nerd, who is a channel member, by the way.
Hey,
appreciate that.
We appreciate you.
Because I could have expected. Basic Nerd is probably the most active person.
Probably. More active than us.
Yeah, so should they ever have made banished cards interactable? My answer is no. I think that banished should... No. I think that the fact that they had to make banished face down should tell you all you need to know.
I missed the phrase removed from game.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think that when you get that naming, it almost implies that you can do things with it. But it should have been removed from game.
Yep, just not,
like
no longer
conceptually. Like even if you change it to banished, I think that these cards should like go, and you cannot interact with these cards.
But
anymore.
We can fix it, Paul. We can fix it. We make a new designation, a new zone called removed from match. When a card gets removed from the match, you cannot shuffle it back into your deck in game 2s and 3.
Yeah, it's literally gone.
It stays gone. And you have to add something in from your side deck. You have to. That is the rule.
I mean, like, I think that there's like this world where banished, I think the only thing that banished should be able to, any interaction it should get, if any at all, should be like those effects where it's like Necroface when it's normal summon, and shuffles all banished cards like back into the decks. I think that's like as far as it should ever have gone.
I don't mind Necroface because it's everything all at once.
Yeah.
Because being selective makes it feel like I can toolbox out of this. This is another hand for me.
Yeah, when you're getting these, or like when I read these cards that are just like, oh, when it gets banished, it gets this effect. So what's so where's the cost
why
of
is it
banishing?
activating an effect when it's banished?
When it's banished, exactly. Yeah, so I think that they should have just kept it.
But I think
away.
We started going awry when they started doing the initial different dimension support when cards were starting to activate when they were banished.
Yeah, and I mean, I know like Yu-Gi-Oh is just all in this kind of, I don't want to say it sort of feels like it's like walked itself into this corner where they're trying to just explore every nook and cranny of design space that this game has to offer. And so that's where we ended up with like, Banished gets to be this whole zone and it's a second graveyard and cards can just get banished back, and then we had to make banished face down. And even though we made that, there's still technically cards that can like recover a face down banished card. Yep. And so, yeah, I would say that it should have just stayed gone. Was my personal stance on it. And for the most part, it was, but it's just power creep goes. Power creep
does it
crushes everything. Cool. Well, that is all the questions. Thank you guys so much. We do appreciate all of your questions, and we appreciate the new channel members. There's really
17
awesome.
of you guys right now, but maybe by the time you see this episode, there will be more.
Yeah,
or less.
Just less. I would love to, see how many we can get. It would be fun.
69.
But without further ado, I guess. There was one thing.
What happened?
So last week didn't actually talk about the media that we'd watched.
Oh, that's a good point.
But I had a piece of media that we both watched, and I thought maybe we could share just some quick thoughts on it.
I don't think we should talk about that CNN article. That seems too political for this.
So who you should vote for in the next election is?
Woo!
No, it's Marvel's Agatha All Along.
That is true. We did watch
Plus.
Agatha All Along.
So when you guys see this episode, actually, like the next episode will be up.
Episode 3.
But we have seen episodes 1 and 2. I'd say like let's try not to spoil it, but I mean like really, there's not spoilers to be had.
I mean, it was 2 episodes. Not so much you can spoil.
What do you think of it? It's been a while since we've gotten really a Marvel topic on this podcast, and this is the first Marvel.
I mean, Marvel's been taking it slow this year.
Yeah, they have. It's the first Marvel show since Echo way back in like January. So
so Agatha All Along, I was not looking forward to it. I questioned why it existed. I was like, why are we playing around like anyone cares about Agatha? And I'm still kind of wondering that, like why are we here? But in the first 2 episodes of Agatha All Along, you do have to watch both episodes before you can really be interested. I swear that the first episode is, if you just watch that, you probably can just stop pretty easily. After watching the second episode, I feel like I have to finish the show. I'm just going to have to.
I think they made a good decision in releasing episodes 1 and 2 like back to back together on the first day, because it really needs the first 2 episodes to truly reveal what you're in for. And I don't want to say like I fell in love with it, but I've been very like intrigued by it. I didn't watch. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, you're about to say.
I didn't watch WandaVision, so I felt like I was like, oh, am I even going to be able to understand this? And there's definitely some stuff that like I probably could have done my homework first. But Wanda's characters, or not Wanda, but Agatha's character is very fun. I think the actress, I forget her name, she does a good job of. She's just big personality.
I mean, she was a fan favorite in WandaVision. I just didn't think that was enough to get a spinoff show. But this show has set itself apart from pretty much everything else I've seen from the MCU. They're firmly planting their feet in the witchy vibe, and anyone who's watched like supernatural shows in the last like 15 years, you know what I mean when I say something's witchy. They definitely have the witchy vibe going. And if you didn't watch WandaVision, which I would hope you all did, I feel that after episode 2, you're good. I don't think you have to have watched WandaVision anymore.
Well, yeah, I'm already looking forward to seeing episode 3, and I think that if you are, a Marvel person, you're probably already maybe watching it. But if you are apprehensive about like Agatha All Along, I can at least happily say that it has surprised me so far. And I know there's that crowd of people who are just like, well, I'm not watching it because it seems too woke, or there's it's like a women's show or something, and I can't have that. But I think it's worth a shot.
I mean, so. I think it's a good enough time at least now. And if you're one of those MCU theory crafting type, I mean, there's some more room here. Let me tell you.
Okay, yeah. So and I don't even know because I'm not as into it.
Yeah, there's implications you can make just from the first 2 episodes alone.
Cool. So that's going to conclude this week's Pot of Greed, unless of course you're a YouTube channel member, in which case.
Then the show continues.
Yeah, the show continues. A few bonus minutes right after this. But thanks, as always, for tuning in, especially if you were in the premiere. And in fact, I'd love to ask you guys who do tune into the premieres, do you prefer YouTube premieres or do you prefer to just like upload the episode straight? Because like I did that accidentally last week.
Right. And the main
premiere. So
I saw that. And you guys know the main difference is in the premieres you have this live stream like interface to chat in. Otherwise, you would just comment normally, but I've always noticed this too. There are always people who comment regularly and don't use the live chat. And I don't know if it's because they don't know how premieres work or...
There's always a little confusion. Some people think it's like a live thing, and then they feel like if they missed it, then they can't.
Some people do think we're live, and
so I want to hear what people think about that. How do you feel about the premieres feature? Would you prefer the episodes just drop or do a premiere? I will do a premiere this week, of course. But maybe once I hear more feedback, we can change as needed. All right, that's going to be it.
We'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.